Hi, the question we have today is Dennis travels a certain road from P to Q in 18 hours and takes 12 hours while traveling back from Q to P by the same road. Speed when going uphill is 30 km per hour, when going downhill is 60 km per hour, and on level ground is 40 km per hour. So this journey has three kinds of paths: uphill, downhill, and plain one. The first question is the distance traveled by Dennis from P to Q. Second question, which of the following are definitely false? Okay, for the second question, we need some numbers to even look into it. Okay, let's get behind the concept. The concept here is average speed. Now, what is average speed? Average speed is the speed at which, had the person traveled the entire journey, he would have still taken the same time for the journey. Let's take an example. Let's say you're going from point A to point B and coming back from point B to point A. Now, usually what happens, usually we don't travel the entire journey at the same speed, right? There will be increase of speed, there will be decrease of speed. So let's say you went from A to B and came back from B to A. You increased your speed at some point of time, you decreased your speed at some point of time, but totally you took 10 hours, right? Now, when we speak about average speed, it's nothing but the constant speed at which you should have traveled from A to B and B to A, and you would have still taken only the same 10 hours. So that constant speed is called the average speed of the journey. Okay. So how do we calculate average speed now? Speed, we all know, is distance by time. Average speed is total distance by total time. Let's take this example. If A travels from school to house at a speed of 40 km per hour and house to school at the same path at 60 km per hour, what is his average speed in the round trip? Now here, we know speed is equal to distance by time, we know average speed is equal to total distance by total time, but we don't have distance here, right? Only the two speeds have been given, but we know that the two distances are equal. So let us say the distances are taken as d and d, so the total distance is 2d. Now what will be the time? How do we know the time here? We know the distance is d and the speed is 40 and 60 respectively, so the time can be taken as d by 40 and d by 60 for the two parts of the journey. So that becomes 2d by d by 40 plus d by 60. D by 40 is the time taken from school to house and d by 60 is the time taken from house to school. So it turns out to be 48 km per hour. Now this is something we'll have to know. When the two distances are equal, then the average speed can be given by 2ab by a plus b. This is only valid for two equal distances. Now what is this a and b here? A and b are the two speeds at which you travel the two equal distances. In this case, A and B are 40 and 60. Now let's get into our question. Here I have classified the three kinds of paths as uphill, plain, and downhill. Uphill, we travel at 30 km per hour, plain at 40 km per hour, and downhill is 60 km per hour. Now DU is nothing but the total distance which involves uphill journey from A to B. DP is for plain journey, DD is for downhill journey. Now what will happen when someone travels from B to A? Now the distance that you traveled as uphill journey from A to B will become your downhill journey now, and the downhill journey distance will become the uphill journey now when you're coming back, right? So it will look more like this. B to A, uphill journey will be the previous case's downhill journey. So DD will become the uphill journey distance when you're traveling from B to A, and DU will become the downhill journey distance when you're traveling from B to A. Now, what is the total uphill journey here? DU plus DD. What is the total downhill journey? Again, DD plus DU, which again is the same, right? Now, imagine that the plain journey was not there. There are only two kinds of journey here: uphill journey and downhill journey. Okay. Now, uphill journey is DD plus DU. Downhill journey is also DD plus DU, which means the total distance of your uphill journey and the total distance of your downhill journey is the same. So distances are same in these two cases. One you're traveling at 30 km per hour, the other one you're traveling at 60 km per hour. So now the average speed of just the uphill and the downhill journey from A to B and B to A can be calculated using 2ab by a plus b, right? It turns out to be 40 km per hour. Now you bring in the plain journey into the equation. So now plain journey already has a speed that is equal to the average speed that you have already calculated. So having any amount of plain journey included here will not change the average speed of the journey. So we can conclude that the average speed of the entire journey from A to B and B to A, including the plane, will be 40 km per hour. Now the first question was asking for the distance between A and B. Now we identify what is the average speed of the entire journey. We have been given the time taken in the question, right? So we can find out what is the distance. So average speed of the entire journey is 40 km per hour. Hence the total distance from A to B and B to A is 40 into time taken for the journey. A to B is 18 hours and B to A is 12 hours, which turns out to be 1200. But the question was asking for one-way distance, right? So that will be 600 km. Now let's get to the next part of the question. This is something that we found in the previous question, right? du plus dp plus dd is equal to 600 km. Okay, from A to B, the time taken is time taken for uphill journey, that is tu, plus time taken for plain journey, that is tp, and time taken for downhill journey, that is td, which you can write in terms of distance now. du by 30, that is the speed for uphill journey when you're going from A to B, dp by 40, and dd by 60 is equal to 18. Similarly, we can do for B to A also, right? So tu plus time taken for uphill journey plus time taken for plain journey plus time taken for downhill journey is equal to 12. But here uphill journey distance will be dd, right? So if we write that dd by 30 plus dp plus by 40 plus du by 60 is equal to 12. We have got two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. So we notice that equation 1 and equation 2 has something common, right? dp by 40, dp by 40. So if we subtract these two, we'll get an equation only in terms of du and dd, that is du minus dd is equal to 360. That is difference of the uphill journey from A to B and downhill journey from A to B is 360. And we have already found that du plus dp plus dd is equal to 600 kilometers, right? And the difference between these two is 360. So what can we infer from du minus dd is equal to 360? Even if dd happens to be 0, which is the minimum value that dd can take, du will at least be 360, right? So du cannot be less than 360. The minimum value of du is 360. So that is the inference that we draw here. Du minimum is 360. Now if minimum value of du is 360, which occurs when dd is equal to 0, then dp will be 600 minus 360, 240. So when du is minimum, dp will take its maximum, right? So dp maximum will be 240 km. Now using these two, we can answer the questions. Let's see how we answer the questions using these two information that we have got. Okay, first question, find the distance that Dennis travels. That we have already answered, right? Find the distance that Dennis travels from P to Q, that is 600 kilometers. So answer is option 2. The next question, which of the following is definitely false? Okay, we have seen that du, what is du here? Uphill journey when you're traveling from A to B, right? That is minimum 360 and dp is maximum 240. First option. Dennis traveled a total of 354 kilometer uphill. Hey, you cannot have 354, right? Uphill journey from while going from P to Q is minimum 360. So the first statement is wrong. Next statement. Dennis traveled a total of 240 kilometer downhill when traveled from Q to P. What is this downhill distance when traveling from Q to P? Nothing but the uphill distance when you're traveling from P to Q, right? That is our du. Again, du minimum is 360. Here we have got 342. So statement 2 is also wrong. Coming to the third statement. Dennis traveled a total of 296 km on level ground. Hey, level ground maximum is 240. You cannot travel 296 km on level ground, whether it is P to Q or Q to P, right? So all the three statements are wrong. Answer is option 4 for this question. Here we have another question which also has some uphill, downhill, plain journey and all that. So you can try this question on similar lines. The options for this questions are question A, the answer is option 1. Question B, the answer is option 3. You may call us on 83340 12360 to have a chat with us on your CAT prep.